Big move by Ron DeSantis. It wasn't just him, it was the Florida legislature. The Heartbeat Protection Act, or SB 300, establishes protections for unborn babies with a heartbeat. This begins at 6 weeks. So even earlier, abortion would be banned after 6 weeks in the state of Florida. The only exceptions are clearly to save the life of the woman or for cases of rape or incest until 15 weeks of pregnancy. And even in those situations, when you're talking about the rape or incest, that's got to be done by the 15th week of pregnancy. You can't go and say, well, 3 months from now, I was raped, or this is a product of incest, and now I want the abortion. So really strict, even when it comes to the exceptions.
A good step for Florida, but you are right. The education is a huge part of this, probably the most important part, because it can come off, and definitely the way the left spins it, is it comes off that these are hateful or anti-women laws. And, we've been preaching it for years, and our organization has as well. So that's not the case, and that's not what we're doing here. I think having those steps, putting in the funding to the crisis pregnancy centers or the pregnancy resource centers is a big deal and should be applauded.
Something it does, Logan, which is awesome, is allocates $25 million in funds for pro-life pregnancy centers around the state. Yeah. You cannot get those funds if you refer people to have abortions or you perform abortions. So it's only for the pro-life pregnancy centers. Yeah. $25 million.
We've known that those have been under attack really for the last year, maybe more so than they've ever been in their existence. So to have a state come out like Florida, it's why when you have those ridiculous videos, from Gavin Newsom going to Florida and making those statements, like you don't understand what these constituents want, what they need. And in the state of Florida to have such, like you said, a strict abortion laws, which is obviously a big improvement, but to have this, the humanitarian side of it, which is always something we hope and preach for and pray for, which is to have a lot of these funds.
So it does give those folks who are victims of a crime a little bit more time than the 6 weeks, but it still says we believe this is an unborn life worth protecting, and the further along this goes, the more gruesome this procedure is. So you've got to still come to the state very quickly. It will be challenged because we already are in court right now. We filed a brief in Florida with Florida Supreme Court, in the Florida Supreme Court. That is over their House Bill 5 that prohibits abortion after 15 weeks. That is basically exactly in track with what Mississippi did in the Dobbs, what led to the Dobbs case, and what the Supreme Court said was okay in overturning Roe versus Wade. So I think that one, again, you never know what these state courts are going to do. We're out of the federal court system. We're into the state court system. So the Florida Supreme Court explained in the 1980s, when the Supreme Court of Florida interpreted the privacy clause of the Florida Constitution, which does not address abortion, the court built its abortion case law on then existing precedents of the United States Supreme Court that have now been overruled. So in Florida, they did say our Constitution, like the U.S. Constitution, has the right to privacy, thus has a right to abortion. Now that the Supreme Court has said no, you would expect that a conservative Florida Supreme Court would say that was inaccurate, or the case law has changed. Even if it wasn't wrong at the time, it is wrong now.